we are back with Cooking with Kat. Hello YouTube, this is Kat from On the Balcony with Kat, and what you're looking at right now is a skillet full of diced kale, organic. The specific variety of is red kale. Love kale, personally. Kale, celery, onions, and mushrooms. And I know this looks like a lot in the skillet, but it will cook down. This is also going to be one of our pie ingredients. I am experimenting here with this. As I've said, I've never made this pie before, and this whole meatball pie is a bit of an experimental recipe. Based off of Mrs. Wolfie's recipe from our half-acre homestead. She made her meatball pie with pork meatballs, and I believe she put celery and mushrooms in hers as far as the veggies go, and then she added cheese. I'm also going to be grating some cheese and adding that as well. I didn't really think you guys needed to watch me dice vegetables, so I went ahead and did all of that off camera, obviously, and I'm just going to start this cooking now. It helps if I have my handy-dandy turning utensils. But I'm going to get this cooking, and I'll come back. I'll bring you guys back, I should say, when it is cooked down quite a bit. Oh, I also wanted to mention that I added a bit more of that lovely roasted garlic olive oil to this skillet, so just as an FYI. Okay, as you can see, this is cooking down quite nicely. One of the reasons I'm sauteing these vegetables is that mushrooms, celery, and onions are very full of water and moisture and whatnot, and I really didn't want the pie to wind up sogged out. I also like to pre-cook kale because it can be a bit tough to chew, and I know the guys, my husband and our best friend who's coming to dinner tonight, really aren't into the really chewy foods, so pre-cooking the kale along with the other vegetables to, one, soften the kale quite a bit, and two, to cook the moisture out of the other veggies just a little bit. And my camera is having issues for some reason. It seems to keep trying to register the batteries as being almost dead, but I just put absolutely brand new fresh batteries in it, so I do not know what's going on. I might be in the market for a new camera soon. I will get back to you, hopefully, when I'm ready to assemble the pie. Okay, folks, when life gives you challenges, you improvise. I have a few things that I need to mention. Mrs. Wolfie made her own pie crust, which I think is amazing, and someday, maybe when I'm feeling a little more confident about my cooking, I will do the same. But for now, I'm using store-bought pie crust from Safeway. I have my grated cheese. It's medium cheddar. I have my vegetables, cooked down quite a bit. I have my meatballs here and my sauce that are going to be going into the pie, so we're getting ready to assemble, obviously. What I don't have which I should have made certain I had well ahead of time, is my pie pan. I can't find it. So, I'm going to improvise, and I hope it works. I'll come back in a moment to show you what I'm doing. Yep, that's right, folks. I'm using my cast iron skillet. When in doubt, improvise. Turn that a little bit. So, I have taken one of the pie crusts and kind of carefully laid it in there. This has been cleaned and greased, by the way. And I'm going to poke little holes in the bottom of the pie crust, because that actually helps with cooking and to make it a little bit crispier. At least that's what I've heard. Now we're going to do our best to assemble this pie and hope this works. And hope my camera stays on in the meantime. We have our sauce. Which I'm going to pour just a little bit of in the bottom here. And then I'm going to spread that around. Let me get a ladle or spoon or some such. Oh, okie dokie. I'll spread that sauce around a bit. So we got a little bit on the bottom. Okay. Next, meatballs. And yes, my hands are clean. At the very least, this is going to be an interesting pie, folks. Now remember, basically, everything involved in this pie is already cooked. So all I really need to do, other than splatter myself with sauce, is to make certain the pie crust gets cooked. And the pie gets heated all the way through. So, there you go. Anyone taking bets on how bad Cat can screw this up? This will be interesting at the very least. Hopefully it turns out tasty as well as interesting, though. And I've got a few meatballs left over that can go in the freezer for later. Now we take our veggies, just kind of carefully spread them across the top. Spread that out. Oops, I've got my oven preheating to 350 already, by the way. And this is supposed to go in the oven for about half an hour, but we'll see, considering I'm not using an actual pie pan. I will be checking this periodically and keeping an eye on it, just in case. Because I'd hate to get this far into the prep work and improvisation and burn it. That would not be a good thing. Okay, next we top this lovely stuff with our cheese. So that hopefully, as this cooks, the cheese melts and we wind up with this lovely, ooey gooey, cheesy, meaty mess. Well, maybe not a mess, but you know what I mean. Topping this with the other pie crust should be interesting. Trying to seal it, even more interesting. And now, you guessed it, more sauce. Gonna kind of spoon this in a little bit. Well, maybe I'll pour it. I'm going to try and keep it in that pie crust, so I'm trying to be careful how and where I pour this. And there we go. Now we get to try and top it. Ha ha! This ought to be fun. So you saw it here first, folks. How to experiment wildly and hope everything comes out wonderful. Unroll this very carefully. Obviously, I should have put this one on the bottom. It seems to be bigger. Now the fun part, trying to actually seal that. Where did I put my fork? There it is. Now, I'm going to try tucking this into the pie crust down in the bottom. Which of course is softening because my skillet wasn't cold. It wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold either. But I think this might actually work. Just tucking it in carefully. Get in there. Oop. Sorry about my arm being in the way. Our best friend has a really funny story about pie that I love. When he was a child, he didn't know that you could have pie other than sweet dessert type pies. And I guess one day his family decided they were going to have pot pie for dinner. And he was told they were having pie for dinner. They did not differentiate, of course. Parents being what they are. So he thought they were going to have pie. Sweet, sweet, delicious pie. And was very excited, running around the house, the whole 9 yards, shouting about how they were having pie for dinner. Well, needless to say, when he was served his pie, it did not go over very well because, you know, expectation and what actually happens are two different things. As he bit into his pie, expecting it to be sweet, yummy, and delicious, and finding it to be more the savory pot pie variety, it triggered his gag reflex. And he spit it out and kind of, well, you know, lost it a little bit everywhere. Was very upset, felt very betrayed, the whole 9 yards, and absolutely refused to eat any more of that pie. And for quite a few years after, he had some issues with pie. So I told him when I was inviting him up to dinner tonight that we're having pie for dinner. He kind of chuckled, nodded, and went, "I'm assuming it's not sweet." So, there you go. I personally love that story. And I can't help but tease him occasionally when we have pie for dinner. There we go. This is actually sealing up okay. So, I will cut a few slits in the top. Mrs. Wolfe did this really neat little lattice pattern with hers. Again, wonderful, amazing lady. A heck of a cook. She's posted lots of recipe videos that actually has been spurring my interest in cooking quite a bit. I am really looking forward to trying more of her recipes in future, although I do have a bad habit of modifying recipes and, as you've seen, bending them to my own unique talents? I guess you could call it that. Hopefully my camera is still recording, as I have not paused, obviously, to check. So, and there we go. We have a sealed pie. I'm going to cut some slits in the top of this, and then I'm going to lightly brush it with butter and sprinkle what little of the leftover cheese I have on top. So this hopefully will turn out quite good. I'm hoping anyway. Let me go get the butter. Should have had it assembled ahead of time. Okay.
Not a good sign.
Oh. This is unsalted butter, by the way.
Why?
Because only barbarians salt their butter. That is my husband, obviously, in the background. And that's kind of a little in-joke from us, because we both are gamers, meaning we play role-playing games, fantasy role-playing games. And in one of our game supplements, years and years ago, we ran across a statement from a guide book to one of these fantasy lands where a fellow was talking about different food styles in different lands. And one of them, he mentioned that, you only use unsalted butter because only barbarians salt their butter. And ever since then, that has been kind of a running in-joke with my husband and I. So, of course, I mentioned, I'm using unsalted butter here. And he had to ask, why?
Gotta run with it.
Hence the explanation. So, well, we've got that buttered up. Actually, the reason for using unsalted butter an awful lot is if you've added salt at any point in time, which I have. Adding salted butter will add extra salt to your dish. You don't want to do that necessarily, so use unsalted butter. That's the main reason for it. Now, I'm going to go pop this into a 350-degree oven. I'm going to set the timer for about 30 minutes, but I'm going to keep checking on it periodically. Ooh, I almost forgot the cheese. Scatterbrained I am. No, talking like Yoda I am. Yes, I am a geek. I freely admit that. So, let's see. And I will bring you folks back and show you the finished product when it is all done. There we go. Okay, folks, here is the finished product. It actually came out looking really good. I hope it tastes as good as it looks. And I'll have to cut into it here real quick and see. And give you a quick look at the inside once it's cut into. Let's see if we can do this without melting our spatula. I love cast iron. Okay. Oh, well, it definitely has that chewy, gooey, cheesy look. So I'm thrilled with that. Let's try getting a piece of this out. Oh, oh wow. There we go. Well, it did get kind of watery. But, and of course I drop it and it falls apart everywhere. It does look pretty tasty though. Let's hope it tastes as good as it looks. And hopefully the pie didn't get totally sogged out. Well, somebody want to volunteer to taste this?
Sure.
Okay, Rook, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Taste and give us your point of view on it. It's hot.
Very tasty.
Really good then? I'll take that as a success. Well, there you go, folks. You saw it first from start to finish.
Bum 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 bum.
My version of meatball pie. Well, it's after dinner, and I wanted to show you guys, this is all that's left so far of the pie. It went over exceptionally well. Our friend Rook loved it entirely. My husband said it was mind-bendingly good because it's that sweet, savory sort of thing that kind of messed with his brain, but he enjoyed it. And I found it absolutely fantastic. So there you go, folks. Start to finish, my version of meatball pie, and it came out amazing. So you know how to do it. If you want to do it, go for it. I might use my cast iron skillet here for pie making from here on out because it did a really good job. A quick note, I think next time I will add a little bit of cornstarch or something to the sauce to add a little bit of thickening, because it was a little bit too watery in some regards. But other than that, not too bad. Maybe add a little more cheese. But wow, flavor-wise and everything else, it was fantastic. As a matter of fact, I'm trying not to eat another piece, which would make me hurt myself. So there you go, meatball pie.